Be all right if I share a little poem I wrote for you?
Yeah.
I want to anyway. Was the night before Christmas and all through the home, everybody was breathing, but not all on their own. Our teeth were placed in a cup by our bed in hopes that we'd wake up and still not be dead. Me and Mom, at the end of the day, done rubbed ourselves down with some good old Ben Gay. And all of a sudden there arose such a clatter. I thought Mom was snoring, so I threw my shoe at her. Then I sprang to the window just as quick as I could. And a half hour later at the window I stood. And what to my wondering eyes should appear? Not much of nothing. I've had cataracts for years. Me and Mom, we first got married. I wanted to surprise her with the nicest honeymoon she could imagine. I decided I'd take her over to see the Holy Land and all the beautiful sights there was to see. After the funeral, or the wedding, was over. It was close. We went back to her house and just packing all her clothes and getting ready to go. I had to sit in the living room with her mother. It was awful. The longer I sat there, the harder that old woman looked at me. I took all I could stand of it. Went in there where my wife was packing her clothes. I said, honey, I sure love you. But now your mama's got to go. So she got excited. She said, you hear that, Mama? You're going to go with him. It ain't funny. I'm telling you, it ain't funny. She did. You want me to come over here?
That'll work.
So we got all our stuff together, and all our clothes together, and all three of us loaded up on the aeroplane and off to see the Holy Land. Got over and was seeing all the beautiful sights there was to see. Her mama, being an old gray-headed woman like she was, she got sick and died. That's what I thought. Government man come to us. He said, you got to make a decision of what to do with her. See, they didn't want her neither. He said, you've got two choices. He said, if you want to, we can do a little ceremony right here for you. And it'll be about $500. I thought, well, that's not too bad. He said, but if you'd rather, we'll send her back home to the United States. He said, that'll be about $5,000. I thought, goodness gracious. They must charge by the pound. I thought about it and I thought, well, the right thing to do would be to take her back home to the United States. And we signed all the paperwork, was going out the door. That government man come to us and he said, before you go, he said, I got to ask you why you would do such a thing for your mother-in-law. I said, well, ever since I was a little feller, I was raised up in the house of the Lord. The preacher preached from the good book every Sunday and taught me about a man named Jesus. And he told me that he was from over here in these parts, and that one day he died. And in 3 days he come back to life. I ain't taking that chance with money. Miss Little was always getting into things we ought not to do. One day my little brother Leroy and me was outside playing, and Mama, she was going to be in the house doing her housework, and she said, now boys, don't you go down there near the creek. She said, there's a great big old hole, and there ain't no bottom in it. I don't want you down there around it. So as soon as she got in the house, we got real quiet a little bit, and I said, Leroy, Mama says there's a big hole down there with no bottom. We got to see it. We crept off and went down there in the creek, sure enough, off this big old hole we've ever seen. And I said, the Mama says there ain't no bottom in there. We're going to find out. We found us a rock about yay big. We walked over there and we threw it in that hole. I said, now get real quiet and you'll hear it hit. We got real quiet, listened, and didn't hear nothing. I said, well, what we need here is a bigger rock. So we looked around, we found us a great big old rock, and we rolled it over there near that hole, and we threw it down in there, and I said, now get real quiet and listen, listen, listen. I said, listen. Are you listening? We didn't hear nothing. I said, no, wait just a minute. There's got to be a bottom in that hole. We just need something bigger. We looked around, they had an old railroad tie off to the side, and we got it. All we could do to pack it. We throwed it down in that hole. We was listening for it to hit the bottom, and here come this old yaller dog, just a yowling and a hollering, jumped down that hole. I thought, what in the world is the matter with that dog? Up the road a piece lived a little boy, and he come running just to wring his hand. He said, oh, have you seen my little yaller dog? I said, well, there's an old crazy yaller dog just jumped in this hole. He said, well, that couldn't have been mine. He was over here tied up to a railroad tie. Leroy was always getting into mischief with or without me. One day, Mama was getting worried about it. She said, oh, my boys are going to grow up and be bad boys. And she went and talked to the pastor. She said, would you talk to my boys after church Sunday and scare them just a little bit and make them be good boys? And he said, yeah, I'll talk to them. Have you heard? After church Sunday, he took us in there and took it back in the church. He said, I'm going to talk to you boys this morning. He said, took little Leroy in there first thing. Took him in there and set him up in the chair in front of his desk. And little Leroy's feet didn't even touch the floor. Just a dangling, and he said, Leroy, he said, where's God? Leroy just looked at him. He didn't say a word. He said, young man, where's God? And little Leroy's eyes got real big, and he still didn't say a word. And the preacher was getting a little bit aggravated. He said, young man, where's God? Scared little Leroy to death. He jumped down and ran outside, right up Mommy's arm and latched around her neck. And I said, what in the world did he say, Bubby? He said, I don't know, but God's missing. They think we got something to do with it. All things happen in church when you're little. Y'all been getting in trouble. I remember one time we was in church not too long ago, and I don't know how y'all believe with things happening, but I believe the Lord works in a mysterious way. And we was sitting there, and the choir was singing some pretty. In walked this man, you could tell by the way he looked, it was the devil. He walked right in, scared the choir to death. They went a jumping out the windows and they getting out the doors, and all the congregation was a filing out. I looked around, the pastor and the deacons were gone. There I sat on the front row. He walked up to me, he said, do you know who I am? I said, yes, sir, I do. He said, and yet you ain't afraid of me. I said, no. He said, but you do know who I am. I said, yes, sir, I know who you are. He said, but why ain't you afraid? I said, well, I married your sister 60 years ago. Happy Valentine's Day. Me and Mom haul back. She ain't too bad. She can't hear nothing. We decided we'd take a trip down to Florida and see everything there was to see, and all the sights there was. Got in the car and was going down the road, and I guess I got speeding just a little bit, and here come one of them policemen with the lights on, pulled me over and got over there, and I rolled down the window, and he walked up there and he said, well, where y'all headed? I said, well, we're going to Florida. Mom didn't hear good. She said, what'd he say? I said, he wants to know where we're going, Hush. Policeman said, where y'all from? I said, we're from Kentucky, Bluegrass State. Mom leaned over and said, what'd he say? I said, he wants to know where we're from. Officer said, Kentucky, huh? He said, the meanest, baddest, ugliest woman I ever did see was from Kentucky. Mom leaned over and said, what'd they say? I said, they think she knows you. I noticed I heard a lot of the men laugh on that one. I was a little fella, always getting in trouble. One day Mama told me, she said, if you don't get upstairs and repent and ask the good Lord to forgive you, you're liable not to get a thing for Christmas. And I thought, goodness gracious, that's serious. I ran upstairs and I some Christmas presents, and I thought, well, I wrote Santa Claus a letter. I guess I could write the good Lord one. I got out and hit some paper and started to write a little letter. It said, Dear Jesus, if you'll tell Santa Claus that I'll be good and bring me presents, I'll be good for a whole month. I went into it, pulled it up, was about to dig a little envelope, and I thought about that. A whole month. Can't do it. So I thought, well, I won't tell the Lord about that one, and I wadded it up, threw it away, and I wrote another letter. It said, Dear Jesus, if you'll tell Santa Claus I'll be good to bring me presents, I'll be good for a whole week. And I thought about it. That's 7 days. I can't do it. So I wrote another letter, and it said, Dear Jesus, if you'll tell Santa Claus to bring me letters, or bring me presents, I'll be good for a whole day on Christmas Day. That's just a day. But that's 24 hours. I can't do it. So I thought, now there'll be something I can do to make this right. And I thought of something. Mom had one of those little nativity things set up downstairs. And I ran down there and I looked through there and I found her, Mother of Jesus. I ran upstairs and stuck her in my closet right beside my Red Ryder BB gun. And I wrote another letter and it said, Dear Jesus, if you ever want to see your mother again. I didn't get that year for Christmas. Would you like to hear another?
Yeah.
They're on CD for just $15. I think that's it. That's it.
I hope y'all had a wonderful time tonight. Appreciate y'all having me. Appreciate Pastor wherever he ducked out. I figured you was ashamed of me and you wouldn't get it. But I appreciate y'all having me tonight. It's been wonderful. Thank y'all so much.